Happy day, YouTube. My name is John, and this is my channel, The Intermancer. I am basically happy with where my framework is at right now in terms of the functionality that I was originally intending to build into the system. There's some things that I thought about building that I haven't gotten around to yet, like using vector graphics to create a visual representation of the organisms, being able to quickly add organisms in a repo to the seeder for the next experiment cycle that is run. Things like that I'll get to at some point. On reflection, I've realized that where I need to go next is to address some production concerns that I would have addressed earlier had I been doing this, had I been getting paid to do this. Specifically, a couple of things I need to do at this point is, one, I need to Dockerize my server so that it can be deployed to production systems easily. Two, I need to move my repositories to database repositories. Right now, everything's in memory. And then three, but this is a couple of episodes in the future probably. Three, I need to deploy to AWS and move over to using some of the AWS database capabilities after I've already perfected the whole database-driven approach. So with that, we are going to work on the Dockerization, I think is the way people say it. We're going to work on the Dockerization of my system, and I'm really expecting this to be a pretty quick video. So that's what we'll do. And again, I'm taking the context-driven approach. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, looking at my context, I have the tech stack MD. I need to Dockerize this system. Oh, right now it's in build. Oh, let's move over to plan. The front end and back end servers need to use Docker to facilitate later deployment. Before we do that, however, I first need to update techstack.md to reflect this architectural shift. Suggest changes to techstack.md so that it incorporates Docker. I've got about $10 of tokens sitting in the system of availability on my account. I don't expect this to take long, although I probably should have use Claude for this if I was trying to be as efficient as possible with all of my various AI subscriptions. I've learned that when I open a new chat, obviously this is not going to be a surprise to anyone who's done any AI assisted coding. Whenever you open a new chat, it first has to look at your agents.md file, look at the main classes of your system to get an idea of what your system does. And that takes a little bit of time. That's what's going on now. Cost 6 whole cents. Okay. Okay, so decisions. Single container versus 2 containers. I definitely want to, it said it went with single container, but I definitely want to have 2 containers just for the idea of the back-end server having a singular purpose. Okay, so it's got some questions. Answering your questions and concerns in order. 1, I definitely want to use 2 containers so that there is clear purpose for each component. I don't want the container to run Gradle build. So the build system should build the jar separately and copy it in so that the raw code does not live in the production system. Once the system is packaged correctly, I don't need a dev-only Vite container. I would like to move towards my dev system at looking as much like production as possible. All of this should be documented in techstack.md. Double check my reasoning and prepare the edits appropriately. I still have this in plan mode. Separating concerns. So it's saying that in addition to the documentation, it's going to have to update this here is saying that it's going to have to update the build pipeline, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to be doing all of these changes, even though this is going to go in multiple videos. I'm going to be doing all of these changes in the same chat so that it keeps a history, keeps it in context of what our plan is. I know that I'm putting the decisions into the context document specifically so that I don't need to have a long chat, but I have been learning that it's best to do both. Back up the decisions into the context documents so that later chats keep that context, but for a single feature, I'm using long-running chats while I'm working on a single feature, and then move to a fresh chat whenever I'm moving to a new feature. So all of my packaging I'm going to be doing in this chat. Once I'm happy with all the packaging, then I'll use another chat when I'm standing up a database server in another Docker container. Back end, front end. For both the front end and back end, ports should be configurable. For now, run the back end on port 8080 and the front end on port 3000. So I want to move forward with the edit, so switch it to build. Make those edits, but just to techstack.md. Once I'm happy with that document, we will make the changes to the build pipeline. Oh, I didn't open up a new branch. To tests. All right, let's go ahead and look at the changes. TechStackMD. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Before we move forward with any other changes, I just realized that I didn't create a new Git branch for this feature. I need to move the code in the current branch to main, close the current branch, and open a new branch called packaging. I didn't want those. I wanted to keep the tech stack MD edits in the new branch, but that's done, and I don't want to clean it up. add and implement the build changes we've discussed. I've got it on build mode, so should you just do that? Three out of 9 to-dos. Just writing a Docker compose file. So in the past, the way you've been seeing me doing it is I start the backend server and I start the front end server. What I'm expecting going forward after these changes is that I'll just do a build the way I've been doing a build, .gradle /gradle w build, clean build, and then I'll do Docker compose up, and that'll bring up everything. So it should simplify it. To deploy. Copy.env example. Can we is it possible to update the gradle.build file so that I only have to do build Docker compose up build. can I update Gradle so that and the project definition so that I can continue to use JDK 25. Well, I'm having to update quite a bit. So the Jackson configuration would need significant rework under Jackson 3. It feels like this is the time to do that if I have to do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and migrate to Jackson 3 now. So this is getting a little bit more invasive. But I'm not using a whole lot on Jackson. Jackson is mostly for the JSON serialization and deserialization. which I'm not doing anything clever or tricky with that. I just gave it permission. I just clicked a button that gives my agent a fair amount of dangerous power on my local laptop, which is fine. I'm just using this laptop for this project and, you know, personal use and stuff. But if everything got wiped out, the whole point of having everything pushed up to GitHub is that I could return the system to where it is pretty easily. Hopefully this ends quickly. I can test it. If there are any problems, if the test doesn't run for any reason, then I'll fix that on another video. Hopefully this finishes, I test it, everything works, and I commit. All right. So we should just be able to say clean build. That was fast. And now I should say Docker compose up -- build. I don't have Docker. All right. Hope I remember to clean this up, hide my email address, although it's not really a problem. Well, that is fast. So now, let's see if local host 3000 works. Whoa, so fast. Oh. Okay, so we have some progress. Obviously the UI works, but it doesn't talk to the back end. But the back end is up. They're just not talking to each other. The video is at 40 minutes. So I think this is good for now. I'm not going to push my code up because I want it to work before I push everything up. We're calling it here, and I will maybe immediately turn around and fix this. Probably not, though. I'll probably do it tomorrow. Anyways, thank you for your time.